While the world celebrates Gary Player as he tees off at the Masters, very few are aware that he was once linked to one of apartheid's most audacious and deceptive schemes, one that would ultimately force the resignation of a prime minister and derail the career of his presumed successor. In 1979, journalists Chris Day and Mervyn Rees of the Rand Daily Mail exposed what became known as the information scandal. At its core was a secret government operation that funneled an astonishing $75 million in unapproved government funds into a global pro-apartheid propaganda campaign. This ultimately brought down apartheid Prime Minister John Vorster, and shattered the ambitions of his heir apparent, Information Minister, Connie Mulder. The scheme was born out of desperation. In 1973, the United Nations had formally declared apartheid a crime against humanity. South Africa's government responded not with reform, but with subterfuge. The Department of Information launched a clandestine dirty tricks program aimed at reshaping global perception. Its mission was simple: lie to the world that everything was normal in South Africa. To achieve this, it sought to buy and pay off newspapers, journalists, photographers, businessmen, and crucially, sportsmen. Among those drawn into this web were two towering figures of South African sport, rugby's Louis Luyt and golf's Gary Player. The first move was an attempted secret purchase of the Rand Daily Mail, with Luyt positioned as the frontman. When shareholders refused to sell, the state pivoted. It created its own newspaper, The Citizen, funded illegally with taxpayer money and launched without public knowledge. Luyt again played a central role. Among the founding directors of this state-backed publication was Gary Player himself. The Citizen project alone cost an estimated $37 million, an extraordinary sum for a covert media operation funded in secret. The scandal began to unravel when the Rand Daily Mail revealed that thousands of unsold copies of The Citizen were being dumped in a Johannesburg quarry to artificially inflate circulation figures, a crude attempt to manufacture credibility. But the operation extended far beyond newspapers. A covert body known as the Committee for Fairness in Sport was established, funneling millions, around 15 million rand in today's terms, into efforts to counter international sporting boycotts. Player served as one of its directors, as millions were channeled into lobbying efforts designed to reintegrate apartheid South Africa into global sport. At the same time, Player was paid by the Department of Information to host American businessmen on lavish golf excursions, while one of his properties was reportedly used as a safe house for meetings between apartheid officials and foreign representatives. In 1978, Player was awarded the Hendrik Verwoerd Award for combating what was termed prejudice against South Africa abroad. Former Prime Minister, Verwoerd, widely regarded as the architect of apartheid, had openly subscribed to Nazi ideology, which he applied to Afrikaner paramilitary. The award came with a payment of $11,500 to Gary Player. This is equivalent to roughly 1 million rand today. During any period, this can be considered as an extremely generous award. It has accordingly drawn some criticism and suspicion. In his 1966 book Grand Slam Golf, Player wrote, "I must say now, and clearly, that I am of the South Africa of Verwoerd and apartheid." The reach of the information scandal was global. Attempts were even made to acquire the American newspaper The Washington Star to influence U.S. opinion. Media magnate John P. McGough became entangled in the effort and was later investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice for acting as an undeclared foreign agent. In total, the Department of Information is believed to have orchestrated around 180 secret or covert initiatives. These included the creation of a front business organization called the Club of 10, which criticized perceived bias against the apartheid government. The establishment of a secret photo news agency distributing articles and images to the European press. The purchase of French newspaper, Le Monde Moderne. A smear campaign against liberal politicians in the United Kingdom, including anti-apartheid activist Peter Hain. Contracts with 2 Labour Party members of Parliament for lobbying and intelligence gathering. And a January 1974 visit to the United States involving meetings with senior politicians and the New York Times. Conclusion: history has a way of sanding down its rough edges, of turning complex figures into uncomplicated heroes. Gary Player remains, without question, one of the greatest golfers the world has ever seen. But greatness on the fairway does not exist in a vacuum. Behind the trophies and ceremonial tee-offs lies a far more uncomfortable truth, that even icons can become instruments of power, willingly or otherwise. Muldergate was not just a political scandal, it was a reminder of how deeply apartheid reached into every sphere of South African life, including the reputations we still celebrate today. And so, as applause echoes across Augusta, it may be worth asking, not just what we remember, but what we've conveniently chosen to forget.